Much, Jonathan. Now, do you ever feel like you need a break from your relationship just for a little while? Well, marriage sabbaticals have been suggested as a way of rekindling the flame and even avoiding divorce. So we're asking this morning, can they work? And would you consider one? Here to talk it over, we have the writer Kate Wills, who's recently taken a marriage sabbatical, along with relationship counsellor Nicholas Rose. Good morning to you both. Kate, I have to come to you first because you've written about this. You took a marriage sabbatical very early on in your marriage. Why?
A lot of people were surprised about that, actually. Me and my husband Sam have been together for over 10 years. So even though we only got married last year, we did have a really long period under our belts already before deciding to do this.
So you decided you wanted to take a break from the relationship. It was 3 months you were apart. Why? Were things not going well, or? It
was actually the opposite. I think we felt we were in such a strong position that as a couple that we felt like I could take this time apart and we would come back together and it would still be really good. It just felt like the right time for us, really. I really wanted to spend 3 months in Los Angeles. I got back last night and I feel really refreshed and renewed and excited to be back together.
So things were good when you got back?
Definitely, definitely. And he came out for a visit as well. You know, there were challenges along the way for sure. And at first it was kind of difficult to reconnect again, having got used to spending time apart.
Yeah. It's interesting, Nicholas. Somebody sent me a little video clip. We all know the scene from Friends when Ross says to Rachel, "We were on a break." People tend to take time apart when things aren't going well. What do you think of the idea of taking a break when things are going well because you feel confident enough to do that and spend time on your own doing what you want to do?
Well, I think it's something that people have done for decades, really. The interesting thing is the use of the word sabbatical. It's an old word, usually used in the context of work and taking a break from...
Well, you have to work at relationships, don't you? Could argue.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Probably harder than anything else, I would say. And yes, I see it in the consulting room. Yeah, I mean, people have been apart for years, but haven't called it a sabbatical. I think what's interesting is that since there's been a huge change in the reduction in divorce rates, because a lot of people have decided to live together before getting married, and that just means I think people are being much more creative about how they make their relationships work. So I think it's exciting because there's a word which now, I mean, it can be used in so many different contexts. That's the important thing. The couple need to have a joint understanding of what that sabbatical is going to be, how it's going to play out, and what their expectations are.
And it's interesting, isn't it, Kate, because there is no traditional marriage or relationship anymore. Both parties tend to have jobs or careers. And is this a good way of pursuing your individual dreams while staying together? Because a lot of conflict, I'm sure you've seen this, Nicholas, in your consulting room, is that couples are veering off on different paths for whatever reason. So it's okay to say, I'm going to go explore this for a while, but I will come back.
I think so. I mean, the divorce statistics are still pretty high, and a lot of marriage counsellors I've spoken to have been like, actually too much compromise in a marriage can just lead to resentment later down the line. And actually, if you are able to kind of fulfil those individual desires and wants and needs while still coming back together as a couple, you could actually build a stronger foundation that goes the distance.
The worry is going to be, though, Nicholas, a lot of people will be thinking, oh, this sounds like a good idea, but once you try something new, there's always that little doubt that the grass is a little greener. There is perhaps the option that they might not come back.
Well, I think it is about the couple working together, finding a solution that means that they both feel comfortable and contained in the relationship. If you want a happy relationship, both people in it have to be happy.
And Kate, you were saying that you obviously talked to your husband while you were away and he came out to visit. So it's not as if you cut off all communications and disappeared for 3 months.
No, totally. And the way the world is now, you know, we were FaceTiming, we were Skyping, we were constantly in contact. And although it's not the same as physically being together, it does kind of bridge the gap a little bit.
And Nicholas, it does make it a little bit more complicated. A lot of people are getting in touch with me. I can just see my tweets racking up. Watching at home this morning, kids are on Easter break. A lot of people saying, who gets the kids? Because obviously when children are involved, that becomes very much more complicated. You can't just suddenly take a break from that relationship.
Children are a huge concern for parents, and rightly so. Of course, the big mistake often is that parents will think that the children are not affected if the relationship isn't going well. They'll think that children don't know about the arguments, etc. I think sabbaticals take many forms. On one hand, it can be about personal development. On the other end, it could be better to call it a kind of a temporary ceasefire, because it does seem as though the word sabbatical is being used for a range of things. Are there problems in the relationship? Yeah. But yes, children, it's really important that they're considered.
Yeah. Kate, no children involved in your relationship at the moment. I'm interested to know who approached this idea first and how it went down with the other partner.
So it was my idea.
Okay, how do you start that conversation?
Yeah, it was a tricky one, and it did take a lot of negotiation, and it was 9 months of kind of working out between us how it was going to look, and how it would be feasible financially and emotionally and all the rest of it. But actually, what was quite a revelation was that even though it was my idea, I'd say Sam probably benefited from it more.
Did that not worry you a little bit that he was enjoying the break a bit more than you?
I mean, it did, but I was kind of happy in a way that he was getting something out of it too, and that we were both feeling fulfilled.
Yeah, I mean, Kate sounds like she's taken a sensible approach in terms of there was a long discussion, a long process to get to the point where a break was made for a short time. And I suppose that's the message, isn't it? Discussion. If one partner isn't happy with that scenario, it's probably not going to work.
Exactly. Make sure there's consensus on both sides, and and make sure that there's an agreement as well as to how long it's going to be. What is the contact going to be whilst you're on the sabbatical?
Yeah, what are the rules? What are the parameters in terms of what you can do?
Yes, because you say Rachel said, we were on a break, and Ross said, but we were on a break.
Yeah,
they were both.
He had different rules to her.
Different rules. Yeah, and nothing's changed in that regard, I think.
Okay, very interesting. Well, we're going to have to take a break now, sadly. Very interesting to talk to you, Kate. Thank you very much. As you said, back last night. Keep us updated on how it's going.
I will.
And Nicholas, thank you very much for your point of view as well. Right, still to come here on Sunrise, while the world isn't as bad as